Hello friends, welcome to the 32nd session of Hybris tutorial. In this session, we are going to learn about the search restrictions in Hybris. We are going to learn what are search restrictions, where we use the search restrictions in Hybris, and what is the use of using the search restrictions in Hybris. So we are going to learn all these concepts in this video. Guys, in the end of video, we will be learn how to create a search restriction from the very scratch, and then we will also learn how to enable and disable a particular search restriction or all the search restrictions present in the system. So we are going to learn all these concepts in this video. Guys, in almost all Hybris projects, we use the search restriction concept very aggressively. So this video is going to be very informative for you. Once you watch this video, you will be fully know like how to create a search restriction and what is the use of search restrictions in Hybris. So before starting anything, I just want to show you one sample example of search restrictions, how search restrictions are created, how search restrictions looks like, and then how search restriction functions. So if I go to HAC and log in with my credentials, admin and NIMDA, these are the admin credentials, and I'm logging into HAC with these credentials. Now I am going to console and then in the flexible search. And if I just write a query select star from customer, okay, and if I just try to click on the execute button, just keep this in mind over here the user is admin. So I'm clicking on the execute button, and once I click on the execute button, you will see over here we have multiple results. Over triple one results are over here, right? But once I change the user over here, like I change the user as test employee, okay, and test employee user is nothing. It is also a simple user which is of group type employee. I am going to back office and I'm logging again with my credentials, admin and password as NIMDA. Okay, so you can see now I have opened the back office. So I am going to employee section. I will click over here and then I will just show you that test employee user actually exists. So you will see that this is the user I had selected. So this user should be there in our system as well. And you can see this is a employee, but it doesn't have any admin rights. How will I come to know? I will just go over here in the groups. You can see in the groups we have only given the employee group to this employee, right? So it means we have this test employee user which has groups employee group, right? So if I fire this query, if I fire the same query select star from customer which generated around 111 results when I use the user as admin, and now when I am using the user as test employee and when I click on the execute button, when I click on the execute button, you will see that we have only one result, right? So it means most of the results have been filtered out, right? So guys, this is a sample example of a search restriction. Why all other results are not showing up? Why all 110 results are not showing up? This has happened because I have created a search restriction from the backend, and because of that search restriction, I am not able to see other 110 results when I am using a user of test employees. So if I use any user which has test employee group and if I fire the same query select star from customer, not this query, any query on the customer type, it will always give me only one result. right? I will show you why it has given only one result, why other results are not showing up. I will show you where that logic is also written. So don't worry about this. If you still don't understand why other 110 results are not showing up, I will show you where I have written that logic that don't show other 110 results, right? But my basic thing is you should be clear what is the function of search restriction. Search restriction basically filters out some results based on your some logic, right? So if I just give you one practical example before we write the definition of search restriction, for example, you are working on a live website, right? On the live website, you display multiple products, right? For example, in the category page, if I just go to category page, right? If I go over here, like in the jackets, we see many results, right? So our requirement is that whenever I am going to jacket category, I can only see those products which has stock, right? And those belong to the online catalog version, right? Those belong to online catalog version. So how I can implement this functionality? You can see we do have many products over here, but my requirement is that I need to show only those products over here. Those have stock in my system, right? Plus those products belong to online catalog version. So how I can do? Either I can write while fetching this data, I can write, of course, this data comes from the Solar, but just for example, I just want to give you this example. Just for example, I have to write a query like select star from product where catalog version is online catalog version and stock greater than zero, right? This is a rough query I have to use. Other thing you can do is you can create a search restriction that whenever a user fires a query on product table, you automatically creates a restriction that it will only gives the results of products which has stock greater than zero, right? And catalog version is also online. So I can create that restriction. So I hope this is clear to you where we can use the search restriction practically. Now I will show you before writing the definition of search restriction how this is working. Like I just wrote select star from customer, it has given only me one result. But when I once I change the user, I change the user to admin, it is showing me around triple one results, you can see. So how this is behaving or how this is working, that I am going to show you. If I just go to back office and if I just go to types, so guys, this type section is the section where you can search all the types which you have created, either out of box provided by Hybris in core items.xml or in your custom items.xml. Whatever types you have created, you can search over here. So I am just trying to search for a type which is search restriction, right? So I am searching for this type, and over here we have this type search restriction. I will just click on this icon, and once I click on this icon, you can see over here we do have multiple search restrictions. So guys, these are the search restriction through which we can implement our logic. I just want to show you our search restriction which I have created to show you the demo. So if I go to second page, you can see this is the search restriction I have created, customer for Hybris Tube, right? So you can see over here, guys, I have written like this. Whenever any user fires a query, user should belong to employee group. This user should belong to employee group, and I have already shown you that our user test EMP belongs to employee group. That is why this search restriction is getting applied on this test employee user. If I just write over here test EMP, right, and if I fire this query, right, you will see that we have only one result, and this is the same result. You can see UID is Amandeep in Java Hybris at gmail.com. Why it is displaying only one result? Because I have given over here that whenever any user which belongs to employee group, whenever he fires a query on the type customer, we need to create one filter. Filter is UID is equal to Amandeep in Java Hybris at gmail.com. So what system is doing from the backend? Whenever you are firing a query, select star from customer, right? Or any type of query on the item type customer, it automatically is appending this statement in the end, this where statement in the end. So it will append this statement UID is equal to this. So I hope this is clear to you how such restriction is working and why I am only able to see only one result, right? Because I have created this query in the search restriction in my custom search restriction which I have created. That is why I am able to see only one result. But don't worry about this. I will show you from the very scratch as well how you can create a new custom search restriction as well. So I hope now guys you should have a clear idea what are search restrictions in Hybris, how it works. But still if you are not clear like how to create this new search restriction, that I am going to show you in the later part of this video. But this is basic thing of search restrictions. So now we are good to define the definition of a search restriction. So I can write like this: a restriction is in a Hybris is a set of rules, is a set of rules applied to flexible searches in order to limit the search results based on a specific conditions. Right? So I hope this line is clear to you what I am saying, because as I already shown, like whenever we were using the admin group, right, at that time we were showing around triple one results. But when we were using any user which belongs to employee group, we were showing only one result. We had filtered out most of the search results, right? So I hope this line is clear to you. This definition of search restriction is clear to you. So this is a simplified version of how restrictions work in Hybris. And guys, I am going to show you one more concept. These search restrictions never apply to a user which belongs to admin group. So this type of search restrictions get never applied to a user which belongs to the admin group. So search restrictions don't apply on the admin users. And guys, we can create not only the search restriction on the HAC or on the backend stuff, we can create search restrictions from the front end flow as well, that I'm going to show you in this video only. But I will be taking a front end flow from the very scratch, and then we will apply search restrictions as well on our e-commerce logic, right? So I am going to show you that concept as well in this video only. But so this is the simplified version of search, how search restrictions work in Hybris. By default, restrictions are not applied to admin group members, right? So I hope this is clear to you what I am saying. Admin will always get full results, right? So restrictions are rules obeyed by flexible search which allow to limit search results depending on which type is searched, right? So because we give in our custom search restriction or in any search restriction that this search restriction should be applied on which type that we mention over here, and that search restriction apply only on that type as only, right? So I hope this is clear to you. Is searched and which user is currently logged in, right? We mention which user, right? Where, in our case, we took the user which belongs to employee group, right? So, of course, this happens transparently and does not need any code adjustment in business layer. That I am going to tell you when I will show you how to create a search restriction from the very scratch. Then you will understand this concept that we don't need to change any code in our any business or service layer, right? So I hope guys these definitions of search restrictions are clear to you. So in nutshell, we can write a restriction. Guys, why I'm telling you search restriction definitions in different forms so that you can clearly understand what are the search restrictions if you are beginner in Hybris. So a restriction is basically just a fragment of the where clause, right? For example, in our case, we created this restriction. We created this restriction. So it is just a fragment of where clause. As I showed you over here, this is the fragment of where clause, right, of a flexible search statement that includes other user groups. So SAP Commerce restrictions are always applied to a specific type, right? For example, in our case, we created the restriction on the customer type. So if I use, if I use the same user, and if I use this on employee type, it will not impact. So you can see when I am searching for the employee type, it will give me the full results. It has given me the only those results, 138 results which I was getting through admin user as well. So it means these restrictions are applied on a particular type only. So you can see on the admin as well, we are getting the same results, and on the test EMP as well, we are getting the same results. So I hope this is clear to you what I am saying, right? And a specific user or user group, right? So I hope this is clear to you. It automatically search restrictions automatically adds them to where clause of all applicable flexible search statements and thereby restricts the number of search results of these statements due to these additional search conditions. Right, I hope this is clear to you what I am saying, because when we created this restriction, and when we fired this query select star from customer, right, the system automatically appends this restriction in the where clause, right? And this is what I have written. It automatically adds them to where clause of all applicable flexible search statements. Right, so I hope this is clear to you, and we can write one more thing. Unlike the type access, unlike type access rights, which are only effective within back office. Guys, I have already told you about the user management in Hybris in our video. If you still don't know, you can watch my video. Link of video is given in the description box as well as on the top right corner in card section. There we discuss the multiple user groups or multiple access rights we can give to multiple users. So if I am giving admin group, right, we can have different set of access rights. If I have other group, right, for example, if I have CS agent group, then I will have different type of accesses. Then I will be able to access the cockpit and other things, right? So, but those type of access rights are applicable only for the cockpits. They don't have any impact on the front end sites as well. But as I told earlier, these restrictions not applied only on the cockpits. These restrictions apply on the front end as well. For example, if I create a restriction for the customer group, right, and if from the front end, if any customer tries to access any particular data, that restriction will apply to that customer group as well. Don't worry, I will show you the live demo for that as well. But I just want to write over here, unlike type access rights which are only affected within back office, restrictions apply to flexible search results throughout SAP Commerce. So restrictions affect flexible search results in back office in SAP and in an SAP Commerce based web application as well. But type access rights, but type access rights only affect back office. Right, so guys, I hope this concept is clear to you. These definitions are clear to you. So these definitions are very important for you to understand the concept of search restrictions. So you should be now aware that such restrictions don't get applied on the admin users. These can be created for a particular type only. For example, in our search restriction, we created the search restriction only for the customer type only, right? And for the groups which belong to employee group, right? So this is what we have done. So now question will arise where the search restriction don't apply. So search restrictions don't affect the following use case like external search engine. If we have any external search engine, right, a third party engine, those are not affected by the restrictions. To get third party engine search results affected by our restrictions, we need to filter these search results by running a flexible statement over them, right? So this should be clear to you where these search restrictions don't get applied. This question is asked very frequently where search restrictions don't get applied. So search restrictions don't get applied on the external third party search engines. For example, Aptus is a third-party tool, right? So search restriction don't get apply on the Aptus. So Aptus is basically a search engine, which is a third-party search engine, right? So if you apply a search restriction for the Aptus results, these will not directly work. But if you customize the results which we get from the Aptus and then make a flexible search over the Aptus results, then the search restriction will work over them, right? So guys, I hope this concept is clear to you. What are such restrictions, how it functions, right? Now we are left with one concept, how to create a search restriction from the very beginning, right? So there will be two concepts. Firstly, how to create search restrictions for cockpit, and second concept will be how to create a search restriction how to create a search restriction which will be applied to commerce flow, right, on the website flow. Right, so I will be creating both type of search restrictions in this video. So first type of search restriction, we need to create the search restriction for the cockpit, right? For example, in our case, how we created the search restrictions. Firstly, I am going to show you that only. So you can see over here, we had created one search restriction. I had created the search restriction with name as identifier as customer for Hybris Tube, right? And this is the name customer Hybris Tube restriction. This is the filter, and this got applied on the type customer type, and this got applied on the group employee group. So how I created this search restriction? So guys, for that we have created one Impex. I just need to run that Impex, and once I run that Impex in the system, that data will be saved permanently, because you must have questioned that if I run one Impex, right, with the next release or with the next deployment of my system, those changes will get overridden. No, answer is no. Once you run the Impex, that inserts the data directly into the database. So it doesn't have any impact on the deployments, right? Even if the deployment happens, your system or your database have data saved data into the database. So that will remain in the system permanently. So what type of impacts we need to write for creating this restriction? So that impacts will look like this. You can see this is the search restriction I have created. I will tell you what is the meaning of all these attributes, but this is the search restriction we have created to create this search restriction which I was showing you. And because of this search restriction only, I was getting only one result when I am searching with the user test employee. You can see we were seeing only one result. So how this happened? This has happened because of this search restriction. What I'm doing, I am creating one impacts on the type search restriction, right? And this is the code I am giving customer for Hybris Tube, right? And you can see this is the same code which you are seeing over here. This is the identifier. And how I come to know that this is the code, right? Because over here in the back office, you can see name is identifier, but over here I'm writing this as code. I have already explained this in our video on items.xml, how to write items, how to create a new item type. But still, in brief, I can tell you that uh, if you just hover over here, you will see that it is type is code, right? This attribute name is code. That is why I was writing over here the value as code, right? So code value is customer for Hybris Tube. Similarly, then second attribute is name, right? And I'm giving the language as English, right? Name is customer Hybris Tube restriction. So you can see the same is the name customer Hybris Tube restriction. And then we have a third attribute. Third attribute is the principal or UID. UID means on which group I need to create this restriction. So I have given over here that this restriction should be applied only to the employee group. So it means if a user which belongs to employee group, only for that user this restriction applies, right? So same is the thing over here. Over here I am saying that it should be applied on the employee group, right? Then what I am saying, restricted type, which type should be restricted for this? So this is the customer. That is why I am seeing over here restricted type is the customer, right? So I hope this is clear to you. Then I am saying, okay, this restriction should be active. That is why this restriction was working, right? Generate is true means we can be generating a corresponding Java logic as well. Then guys, this is the filter or this is the query I am writing which should be appended after where clause. Once we create or fire any query on the type customer using any user which belongs to employee group, this filter or this query will get appended automatically. And you can see this query has been, or this filter has been written over here. So once I run this Impex, right, on the HSE, right? So I hope you already know how to run an Impex. I have already told you this in our Impex section. Still, if you are not clear, you can watch my video. Link of video is given in the description box as well as on the top right corner in card section. But still, I can show you, like, I have to go over console Impex import. In that console only I need to run this Impex. But since I have already run this Impex and this Impex is working perfectly fine, so I will skip this portion. But this is the Impex which you need to run, right? So I hope guys this is clear to you what I am doing over here, right? So for now, guys, what I will do, I will just disable this restriction. So how I can disable any restriction? So I just have to check this field, active field, right? This field as false. And once I check this field as a false, this restriction will be deactivated. This restriction will not work. So you can see it is now saving my results. So now I am clicking over here and then I'm using the same test employee. If I click on the execute now, now it should display all the full results, right? So you can see now it is giving me all the 110 results. So I hope guys this is clear to you how a search restriction works and how you can disable a search restriction from the backend, right? Now what I am going to do, I am going to create a new search restriction from the very scratch. So my requirement is I need to create a search restriction. I need to create a search restriction, right, for all users which belong to employee group, right? And if they fire a query, if they fire a query on item type, customer, right? They should see all results except one user. We can pick this from our customer table. If I can just fire this query, select star from customer. So you can see we do have multiple results. So what I will do, I will randomly pick one user. For example, this men at a hybris.com. So I have conditioned that whenever any user which belongs to uh, I mean employee group, right? He should not be able to see this result men at the rate hybris.com, right? So if I can just write like where UID is equal to right this, right, so you will see that it is giving me the results. Currently it is giving me this result, one result, right? But I have to create a restriction whenever any user which belongs to employee group, if he files a query on the customer type, then for that user this employee or this record should not be visible. This is the restriction I have to create. So this user should not be visible, right, for those employees. So how I can create a restriction? So for that, I will just copy this restriction and then I will show you that how I can implement this. So I will write like this, right? Then over here, I will write customer restriction. I'm just changing the identifier, right? You can, write your own custom identifier as well. Customer Hybris Tube restriction for a specific user, right? And this restriction should be applicable on any user which belongs to employee group, and restriction should be applicable only on the customer item type, right? This active should be true, generate should be true. Over here I will write UID not equal to, right, I will give my user over here. So it means once any user which belongs to employee group, if he fires a query on the customer item type, he will not be able to see this result. Why he will not be able to see this result? Because over here I am writing one restriction, UID not equal to men@hybris.com. So if a user fire this query select star from customer, automatically this where condition will get appended where UID not equal to men@hybris.com. Right. So I will quickly run this Impex in my system. Right. Then I will show you that for this only user, currently we are showing this one result. For this user only, result will become 0, right? So you can see once I fire this query, it is working. It is working. We have only one result. And in the SQL query as well, you can see that we have created this query. This query has been created. I will just copy this query as well. This will be very important concept for you that I'm going to show you in some type that how this SQL query will also get changed. Over here, I'm currently searching select from users, right? And where UID is this, right? And this should not be belonging to anonymous admin and admin group. Once you are firing any query through the employee, we already have this restriction that these, UID should not be visible. But I am adding one more restriction that this UID should also not be visible. So how this will be implemented? So once I run this Impex, so I am running this Impex by going to console. I will just save this query. Or what I can do, I can open a new incognito window and in that I can run this Impex, right? So I am just going to log in and then I will just go to the Impex section. So guys, my server is already up and I have already done the B2C accelerator setup. In case you have not done the B2C accelerator setup, you should do the B2C accelerator setup. Only then you will be able to access these cockpits or you will be able to access these storefronts, right? So you can do that setup. Link of video is given in the description box as well as on the top right corner in card section. So you can watch that video and can your do the B2C accelerator setup. And I have already started my server in debug mode. That is why I am able to access these storefronts. So you can also bring your server up in debug mode. If you still don't know how to bring your server up in debug mode, you can watch the video. Link of video is given in description box as well as on the top right corner in card section. But for now, I have already done the setup and my server is also up in the debug mode. Now I am going to quickly run the Impex which I have copied. So you can see this is the Impex, right? This is the Impex which we have created. And I will firstly click on the validate content. This Impex is valid. Then I will be basically clicking on the import content. This will take some time to create the restriction in the system. So let's wait for this to load. So guys, you can see now the Impex has been loaded successfully. So what I can do, I can firstly show you by firing the same query through the same user, right, test employee. I am firing the same query now. So once I click on the execute, you will see that now we are seeing the zero results. Now the zero results are visible, right? And in the SQL query as well, you will see that over here we have one appended condition and item dot PUID not equal to men@hybris.com, right? It means for this user now we have a restriction created and this restriction is automatically getting applied whenever you are firing a query on the type customer, right? So I hope this is visible to you or this is clear to you. So I'm just pasting the query over here. You can see now this extra and condition has been applied, right? So guys, I hope this is clear to you how you can create a query or how you can create a restriction from the very scratch for the cockpit users, right? So this is how restriction works. Right now, what I can show you this restriction from the backend as well. So this was the restriction, right? I can search this restriction in the back office. Over here, I will just write my identifier, right? This was my identifier, and you can see this is the restriction which we have created, right? So you can see this is currently active. This is the identifier. This is the filter which we have created. And in the admin tab as well, you can see this restriction is created today only. So you can see this restriction is created on 17th of May at 7:45, right? So guys, I hope this concept is clear to you, right? Now, guys, what I am going to show you, I am going to show you this second part, right? How to create a search restriction which are applied on the commerce flow as well, right? So for that, I will take one condition. I have to create, so what is my requirement? I have to create a restriction. I have to create a restriction that once a logged in user, once a logged in user, right, tries to view his placed order, tries to view his placed orders, right, he will be able to see only those orders which are placed after 16th of May. So this is my condition. Today is 17th of May. So you must have seen such type of condition or such type of implementation on multiple websites. In multiple websites, you must have seen that you on in your my profile section, right? Once you see my placed orders, you are able to see only the last 6 month order. You are not able to see all orders throughout your history, right? So how that thing is implemented, that I am going to show you. Here I am just taking the condition that I am able to see the orders which are placed after or on 16th May, right? After or on 16th of May. This is the condition I am going to create. And you can see if I go to the storefront, over here, right? If I go to my account, I have already created this user, right? I have already done the registration and have placed some orders. And if I go into the order history section, you will see I have already placed three orders, I guess. If I just log in again, right, through my credentials, and then if I go to my account section, so I'm going to my account and then I go to order history. I will just disable the debug points for now. And once it loads, I will show you that which all orders I have placed on my website. So you can see these three orders I have created in my account, right? Now what I am going to do, I am going to create one restriction that whenever any user, any registered user tries to view his orders, he will be able to watch or he will be able to view the orders which are placed after 16th of May, right? He will not be able to view these two orders, right? For that, I will be creating one restriction that I am going to show you how I can create that restriction. So if I can firstly, before creating the restriction, if I can firstly show you whenever I click on the my account section, whenever I click on the my account and if I click on the order history in the backend, guys, in the backend, the call goes to this API orders API, right? Over here we are, making this order facade dot get paged order history for status. Over here we are making a call to this API. This is order facade basically. So this is the same facade, right? So this is the call get paged order history for status, right? And guys, then we are going to call this get paged order history for status. We are going to make a call to this, right? So if I can just show you, this call should go to over here, right? And then over here we are going to make a query to the service layer. So if I can just go to the service layer. Right, so this is the call in the or this is the API written in the service layer, and they here I am making a call to DAO. So this is the call which I am making to the DAO class, get customer account DAO dot find orders by customer and store. This is the call I am going to make. Right, so this is the default subscription customer account DAO. Over here, guys, we are firing this query, right? So you can see we are firing this query, find orders by customer store query. Then we are making just appending a short condition, but this is the basic query. If I can just show you that this is the query, right? If I can just show you, this is the query. Over here, why we are simply writing select uh, these attributes from these order item type where user is this, we are giving the customer which is logged in, right? And version ID should be null, and this is the store, right? So this is the query we are creating in the backend in our DAO class, right? So I have already told you the flow for the order history section. Now guys, whenever I will create that restriction which I am going to show you in some time, one and condition will also get applied, that and or dot creation time should be greater than, for example, in our case we took 16th May, so that and condition will also get appended. Now I'm going to show you that how this is getting applied and how to create that search restriction. So for that, what I will do, I will create one restriction impacts. So how it will look like. So this should look like this. So you can see over here, I have created a restriction, right? I have given the restriction name as orders filter. This is the simple name I have given. You can give your own name. So this is the name. You can give your own name as well, but this is the name I have given to the restriction. And this restriction should apply on which users, though users which belong to the customer group, this restriction should apply, right? And this restriction should be applied on which type. This should be applied on order type, right? Because we have to fetch the data from order table only. And restriction is of course true, Jalo is of course true. And this is the filter, or this is the query which we have created, that the creation time should be greater than or equal to 16th of May. This is the restriction which we are going to create. So I am just going to run this Impex. I am going to run this Impex into our incognito mode. Over here, we have already opened the console. So I'm just going to paste this Impex. Firstly, I will validate this content. Then I will be importing this content. And once the content is imported, we must have created one restriction with name orders filter, right? So let's wait for this Impex to get imported. And guys, in the meanwhile, this Impex is getting imported. I can show you one more thing, like my logged in user, right? This user belongs to customer group only. For example, if I can go to the customer section, right? I'm going to the customer section, and there I will show you that the logged in user, right? That has a group, employee group or customer group. So there I will show you that the logged in user belongs to the customer group for and the same restriction or the same condition we have created in our search restriction impacts as well. So I am in the customer section. Over there I will just search for my user Amandeep in Java Hybris. I will search through contains and then I will just search for this user. So I hope this one is the my user, right? So I will just open this user and there you will see that my user belongs to the customer group. If I go to general over here, we have this group, customer group. That is why this restriction, this restriction which I have created, this restriction will get applied to my user as well, right? So I will just see the status. So you can see Impex has been imported. So I will firstly try to search for my restriction which I have created. I will just search for this orders filter. I will go to back office, will go to type again. Right there, I will firstly search for the search restriction type. So you can see this is the search restriction type. Then I will click over this icon. Right, then I will search for my restriction which I have created. So you can see this is the restriction which has been created. Over here, I am saying that the restriction should be applied on the and over here I'm saying that restriction should be applied on the order item type and it should be applicable only for the users which belong to customer group, and this is the restriction which I have created. That this restriction what it does, it filters out the or it gives me only those results of orders which are placed after the 16th of May at 00 CTRs, right? So it gives me only those results of orders which are placed after 16th of May, right? So this is the restriction I have created now. Now what I am going to show you, I will just refresh this page, then you will see that only the order which is placed after 16th of May, that will be visible. So I have just refreshed this page and then we will see how our order history section look like. So you can see guys, now we have only one result. So guys, I hope now this search restriction concept is clear to you now. Now you should be aware how you can create a search restriction, right? So now for you, the task is you should create a restriction. You should create a restriction on the product item type that whenever you fire any query, whenever you fire any query on the product item type, you should be able to fetch only those products which are in the approved state. So guys, this type of restriction will always be there in case you are working in some project. So such type of restriction we always create on product item type, right? That we should be able to export the products to Solar or to any search engine which are in the approved state. So this is the task for you as well. You need to create restriction for the product item type that whenever any user which belongs to the customer group, if he tries to access the products, he should be able to fetch only those products which are visible or which are in the approved state, right? So guys, in case in your project, whenever you are firing a query, right, and if you see like less number of results are visible, then you can of course think about this search restriction concept. There can be a search restriction applied on that item type, and because of that, you are able to see the limited number of search results as well. So how you can, I mean, see the search restriction or how you can check what search restriction is applied there. here. So for that, what you can do, you can I mean, go to the back office. There you can search which search restriction has been applied. So for example, I need to search for the restrictions which are applied on the customer item type. So I can just search for the customer item type. I have just used the restricted type. In case it is not there, you can always drop check I mean pick this from the drop down, this restricted type, and then you have to click on this plus icon, but it is already there for me. So I have just selected this customer, and then I will click on the search. So you will see that these are the restrictions which have been created on this customer item type. So in case you see less number of results than expectations, you can always think about this search restriction concept, and then you can search which all restrictions are there on the web on a particular item type right in your system. So you can search like this. So guys, I hope this concept is clear to you. I can show you one more thing, guys. We do have multiple restrictions already there created by Hybris out of box. You can see these all are the restrictions created by Hybris already out of box. If I can just show you one restrictions, for example, this restriction is applied on the category type. Right over here, what we have done or what Hybris has done out of box, this is applicable for the customer group on the category this, and over here we are filtering. Okay, catalog version should be there among the catalog versions present in the session, right? So this is the restriction we or Hybris has created out of box. So guys, I hope this concept is clear to you how search restrictions work in Hybris, and this is all about the search restrictions. So guys, in case you have any queries, you can always ask your queries in the comment section of this video, or you can drop an email to me on my email ID amandeepinjavahybris@gmail.com. So guys, I hope this video is informative for you and you will be able to use this video in your project task as well. And guys, if you like this video, do share this with your friends. Thank you for watching. Bye.